Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Amateur Repair Time. I've got this awesome clock here today we're going to mess with, and I've got some new stuff to do it with, so we're going to have some fun today. I've been doing a lot of radios and stuff lately, and I haven't done a clock in a while. And whenever I first decided to make this channel, I'm really interested in the clocks. I really love the clocks. I've got a ton of them. I'm fascinated with them, but the thing with them is they're a little bit harder to fix than the radios are. Just my personal opinion. So my goal was to have kind of equal clock repair, radio repair, phonograph repair, and then kind of like a random electronics repair. But we've been slacking on the clocks a little bit, so we're going to mess with this beautiful clock today. Let me tell you where I got this thing. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and on the weekends I go down to Jefferson, South Carolina, with my brother Donnie. If you haven't seen his channel, he's got a channel here on YouTube. It's linked down below. My brother Donnie and I meet in Jefferson. We've got a bunch of buildings down there that we mess with and do repairs on and rent and things like that. And we've been going to Hartsville, South Carolina. Is it Hartsville? Darlington, South Carolina, where the racetrack is. And I've been filming some videos down there about mobile homes and things like that. And just near Darlington is Florence. Well, if you go down to Florence, there's a flea market that's open on Sundays, Saturdays and Sundays. And it's a pretty cool flea market. It's an old school kind of set up, and they get a lot of old stuff in there. I hate the flea markets where you go and everything's brand new. You know, some people like that stuff. You can get all that at the dollar store. I'm not interested in that at all. But you know, a decent flea market ought to have some used stuff. So that one rarely disappoints. So we were down there and walking around, and this lady had a whole bunch of stuff. And she's there every week, but she had just a ton of stuff laying out. And on the table was this clock sitting just like it looks right now. And so I walked up to her and I was like, you know, you got to play it. You got to act like you're not interested, you know. But this is a really cool one. This is a little different than they usually are. It's a little more ornate. And it's just worn enough that I like it. You know, I don't like them to look brand new. I've got another wall over here full of clocks too. And then I've got a bunch more. This is the Majestic radio that we're in the middle of repairing, and that's the Philco that we're in the middle of repairing. Didn't I have another? Oh yeah, I've got a Emerson radio over here we're working on too. But I kind of wanted to take a break from them for a little bit so that we could do a clock. So anyway, it's sitting there on the table, and you know, you walk up, you don't really want them to think that you're all that interested. And I go, "How much on your old clock?" And the lady goes, "Oh, that's a nice one." And I go, "Well, here we go. Here we go." And she goes, "How about $10? Because it might be worth some money if you're able to, after you fix it." Right? And she doesn't know me, but I guess she just assumed that if I want an old clock, I'm going to fix it. So $10, which is a good deal. But you know what I said, right? I said, "Would you take 8? And she goes, "Oh yeah, I'll take 8. And I gave her $8 for it. So I got it for $8. Now, a lot of times anymore, as I get a little older, I don't even negotiate. But something about the way she was acting, I thought, this lady I'm sure she'll take $8 for it. And she did. She may have even took 5 if I just really wanted to beat her down, but I didn't want to. I think she was happy to get her 8. And that's why she told me 10. So anyway, we're going to check this thing out, and I have a new tool that we're going to use. I finally splurged, and I bought an ultrasonic cleaner. Now, just to calm all of you down, no, I am not going to take the whole movement and just dunk it in there in one piece. I'm going to take it apart like you're supposed to, but I've got an ultrasonic cleaner. We're not going to be able to finish this thing in this one video, but I kind of want to try that out a little bit. I've been messing with it a little but I want to check it out. So what is this thing? Well, this beautiful old clock has the label on it. I love it when they still got the label on them. This is an Ansonia clock. I don't know how you pronounce that. Ansonia. It was made in New York, right here in the good old United States of America. Now, I have hanging on the wall this beautiful regulator here. And it's a big one. That thing is about 2 feet tall. And that is an Ansonia. See the logo on it there. So that's pretty cool. And I've got probably some other ones laying around. Let me just say too, near the beginning of these, if you're not into clocks, they don't have a lot of value. So I'm not bragging. None of this stuff has a lot of value. If you're not into antiques, you may not realize that, but this is not an expensive collection. These are all inexpensive. And to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want a bunch of expensive stuff. I want the stuff I like is the stuff that normal people buy. You know, so these are normal people clocks. You know what I mean? They're not the top of the line, super rare, super collectible. There's only 100 of them, all that. No, this is some lady bought it and put it in her dining room and used to listen to it while she was cooking dinner each night or something. You know what I mean? This is like real people's stuff, and they're not worth a bunch of money. And a lot of these in the back I haven't fixed yet. So anyway, this one is a little bit more fancy than they usually are, but it's not a really expensive clock back in the day, and it's certainly not now. So it's not worth a whole bunch of money or anything like that. It's just freaking oozing cool factor. That's all I'm saying. So this thing is old. It is an 8-day Blackbird. So they called it a Blackbird just because of the model of it. Now there is a patent on it or something. It says prize medal awarded Paris Exposition, the Paris Exposition in 1878. So this probably was, you know, in the few years after that. 8-day Blackbird strike. Now, if you may see it, I didn't notice it until just now, but there is some text. I mean, there is some writing on there. Let's see if we can read any of it. A lot of times, a clock repair person would write something on it whenever they repaired it, or that might be somebody's name. Looks like it keeps going. Can you tell? I can't tell. If you can tell any of that, put it down below. Is that my MY? Maybe. And that looks like ELL. Well. I can't read it. It says none genuine without this trademark, and they have the Ansonia trademark, which is also what we were looking at on the front of that regulator. Ansonia Clock Company, New York, USA. So this is their Blackbird model. I guess named that because of the look of the case. So it's all kind of black. I'm trying to be very careful because the door is loose. So on it, down here where the door is loose, it's been scraping the cabinet a little bit. Now, I am not going to restore this thing to like new condition. I'm not capable of it, and I don't really desire to do that either. But you can see where it is actually worn white. So I think the way they made this was they carved it, and then they painted it white, which is what you're seeing here. Maybe they sprayed it white so it would get down in all of the carved areas, and then they maybe rolled it black over it, because like if you took a paint, like a roller or something with black paint on it and rolled it over this, it would only paint the raised area the carved area would stay whatever color it was. So I think they may have done it that way. But it's been dragging down here on the bottom probably for a long time, and it's worn the black paint away to where it's down to the white paint that's underneath it. So there are all these little, I don't even know what you would call that. I've seen that kind of design on stuff before. It's almost like a floral thing, maybe. And it's got like kind of a geometric design, but also the floral thing over it. Yeah, see, that's kind of a floral thing, isn't it? And it's just really cool. It's not super fancy, but it's just a little something extra, you know, that you don't usually see on them. Now, a lot of them had pressed wood, you know, and they would have like the rooster top and everything. But usually not two-tone like this, where it's black with white paint. It's just really cool. It almost looks Victorian. And I think it's in great shape. I mean, it's not new or anything, but it just looks really good, I think. I love the patina of it. I'm not a huge patina person, but on this, I think this, if we can get this thing ticking and talking, we're going to be awesome. The face, a little faded, but I'm going to leave it exactly like that. There's no way I'm replacing that. We may try to clean it a little bit or something, but maybe not. We are going to clean the movement. And then the glass, it just has a really nice design, and it's fairly intact. I mean, it looks pretty good. I love how for a while, too, they, like with some of these glass fronts, the design on it, it's not symmetrical. It's kind of a brave design, you know. This looks like something you would have saw in a home in the 20s. So I'm going to guess, I don't know. Trying to just guess a year. We saw the patent was what did it say? 1878. Not the patent, the award thing that it's bragging about. 1878. So it was after that. If they're bragging about something happening in 1878, you wouldn't think it's too long past that. So I'm going to say this is not in the 1900s. I'm going to say this is 1890 or so. Just guessing. Maybe even a little older than that. Okay, so one of the hinges is disconnected or something. Let's see here. I'm going to be very careful. Okay. Oh, it just needs a couple screws in it. Yeah. So the original hinge, or I guess that's the original hinge, is still there. It just doesn't have screws in it. You'd think at some point somebody would have just took one of the screws out of up here. That'd be the easiest way to do it. But I've got some little screws that can fix that right up. Maybe we'll do that. Be one of the first things we do. And here is the back of the door. Is that the, look at this little thing. What is that? That almost looks like an A for like Ansonia, but they did, I think their logo is completely different. But pretty cool. I have no doubt, in my mind at least, maybe you think differently, that's original. That's just the original design on the front of a Blackbird clock, and that's just how they look. Okay, now this one is a little different than the ones I usually get because it's pretty much chromed and it's a little more fancy than the ones that I've seen. Let's try winding up the alarm. Time to wake up, people. All right, there's not punch to that though, so you would imagine that that would still work. Ansonia clock. That's the I don't even know what you call that. It needs a nail or something to hold it up into place. The one side is still attached. Let's see if I can feel anything down in here. Nope. I think we might have. So we're missing a screw or a few screws. And then we have this fancy looking, what would you call it? plumb bob. I haven't worked on one in a while. Let me see if I can rehang it in there. I think I can. Let's see if it looks like it's right. Pendulum, that's it. All right, let's see if it's got any kind of wind at all on it. Now I'm going to leave it adjusted exactly how it is. And at the end of our videos, I imagine it'll take a few to go all the way through this. We'll see if it actually let's see if it actually keeps decent time with it adjusted like that. I think we've dropped out of our TikTok here. Okay, well, I guess the first thing we're going to do, I think I'll go look and see if I've got a couple screws to put in that hinge just to make sure that doesn't end up snapping or breaking. And then we're going to go ahead and take the face off of it. I'm going to take the movement out. We're going to disassemble the movement and clean it in the ultrasonic. Is it ultrasonic? Yeah, ultrasonic. That's how you call it, right? Clean it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Disassemble it. Put it all back together again and start from scratch. And we'll see how worn it is. Now, I'm probably not going to do any bushings or anything. I just haven't got to that level yet where I'm comfortable with that. I do have a bunch of bushings and the tools and that kind of stuff, but I'm not to the point where I can comfortably do that. So we're going to, unless this thing's just heavily damaged, which hopefully it isn't, this is going to be cleaning and reassembling and seeing if we can do that and get the thing up and running. Which it may be fine now if we just wind it up, but I don't, you know, if the thing's dirty and filthy and has a lot of old oil on it, you run the risk of really screwing up the pivots and stuff like that if you run it dirty like that, even if it will keep time. Okay, so let me go see if I've got some screws that'll fit that, and let me begin taking this thing apart. All right, so step one, they actually weren't screws, they were just little brads. And I've actually had just the right thing too. So these are the original ones. And the reason the door was dragging was because those were loose, and so the hinge had dropped down a little bit. Those had loosened up. So I tapped them back in a little bit. And then these are the ones I had. Pretty much the same exact thing. I didn't buy those. Those came from a whole bunch of clock parts that I bought. And the guy had just a bunch of boxes of parts and stuff, and he just happened to have some of those in it. And I've since sorted those all out. So I've got a box with small nails in it and had those. Those are like just little, they're like little tiny tacks. They're only like 1/8 of an inch long or something like that. And so then this thing had a similar thing. I used the same piece. That's the original one. So the one I put in is a little bigger, but it didn't go through the back or anything. So it's just long enough, but we got that back. And I just put it back in the same hole it was in, which I would assume would be kind of where we're at. Now, one of the things that's good for is it helps you level it. You know, you want I didn't adjust it or anything, but you want that hanging in the middle. If the clock's like this, well, you know that it's not level. So you can level the clock up, or you could actually bend the crutch inside of it too. But because of that, I was able to lift the door a little bit. And if you listen, it is not dragging. It may have paused that. It's not dragging now. So that's probably, I would assume, how it was originally. It lines up good on the sides, and this hook, click, goes right in place. So hopefully that will keep the door from breaking off while we work on it. So next up, we need to remove the hands. Which is going to be done by removing that pin. So we'll get that out of there, and the little retainer and the two hands should come right off. All right, so there's the little pin. I was able to just pull it out by hand. Didn't have to grab it with pliers or anything. I know I'm on the same side as the light, but I guess if I use my right hand, I'm left-handed though. Easy peasy. I've got a bunch of these too that I've got from the other guy. So he had it placed where the it's concave. So now I know, whoever was that worked on it before. And I say he, it could have been a lady, not trying to be sexist. That's a little concave too. And then this, of course, will only go the one way. I wonder if I'm safe to put these in the cleaner. I think I won't. I think I'll leave them off because I don't know if it's going to try to take that paint off. I might have to do a test. All right, so our hands have been removed. This thing, I guess we'll have to wait till we get the face off. Okay, so I'm gonna take the face off. It's just got a couple screws on it. That's next. All right, face came right off, of course, and there is the movement. I wonder if it's been removed, if it's ever been out. Are those new bushings? Yeah, somebody's rebushed it, right? Or is that factory? The factory, they usually just had the holes in the plates, didn't they? Yeah, there's a repair there. Yeah, the whole thing's been rebushed, I think. Very interesting. Well, I think we still, well, it looks pretty clean though. I don't know if I can get it much cleaner than that. Is that damage on that pallet? I don't think it is. Yeah, it's been serviced and it's been rebushed, I think. Is that what you call it? And it looks pretty clean to me. I was expecting much worse. Yeah, I think maybe we oil it. I don't think I can get it much cleaner than that. I mean, I think maybe we just oil it and go from there. I didn't realize that I think all the ones I've had, the springs are up more towards the front. But yeah, that's a clean little movement, really. Maybe we make it strike. What do you think? Oh, nope, not quite. Didn't quite have enough juice. Well, that's pretty neat how they use the same bell for the alarm and the strike. It could just be that there's just not enough wind on it. Yeah, it looks a lot better than I thought it would. Interesting. I don't know how you set the alarms on these, really. I haven't messed with that on one. And yeah, it's definitely been removed. You can see where they put it back in different. Maybe that's a completely different movement. There's a couple holes down here, but some I've seen on these where the case will have a couple extra holes just because they had them kind of pre-made at the factory. There was like a jig where it's kind of laid out, and it kind of depended on whether you put the alarm in or what you put in it. But that one there, you can see where it had like a pressure indentation on it where something else was there before. So probably either not this movement or this was adjusted differently on the movement. Okay, so I think I'll remove it, and then we'll look at the back of it and see what kind of condition it's in. Well, I think for the sake of the video, we'll still go ahead and take it apart. I always love these repairs like this. Look at this. So I think that's already got another bushing in it. And remember, this thing's old, old, old. Yeah, so I think that bushing there, and if you don't know about clocks, I don't know much about them, but that little, let me show you example. So see how in the middle there's like a round circle? That's where, because they've put a bushing in it. Originally, it would have just been a hole. So that's a bushing as well. And if you look, see how that moves around in there a little bit? So you don't want too much of that. Now on this wheel here, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not really talented enough to replace those yet. I'd like to get there eventually, but like, see how that's all ate up and everything? That's because that's been placed in there. And see how the pivot is moving around inside of it? That's because it's worn a little bit, or it was the wrong size when they put it in. So someone has put all those in. So it originally would have just been, I think on the back they didn't do all of them. Yeah, so that, for instance, so that's the middle wheel of the thing. See how there's just a hole in the brass plate and the pivot just sticks through it? That's how it originally would have been. And then at some point, look at that. Wow. I have never seen anybody do that. At some point, those start to wear, you know. And so to fix it, you go in and you put a bushing in it. What in the hell is going on there? So see, it does need cleaned now that I look at it. So on the back, they didn't do that many bushings. It's just the original pivots. So on the front, and I could be wrong. It could be that the factory did it like that, but I don't think so. On the front, everywhere one of those goes through, they have replaced it with a bushing. So what you do is you have the holes all wallowed out, and so you wallow it out big enough that a bushing will fit, and then you press a bushing down in there. That's just the right size where it's going to get it. Nope. It's just the right size where it's going to let that original pinion go through there. Yeah, so they've done all of them. So what's going on here is they did the same thing. There is a new bushing there. So that's been a bushing that someone replaced, but then it was too loose. So to tighten it up, they took a little piece of brass and laid it up against the pinion where it was touching it, and then soldered it in place to push it up against one side of that bushing. So if you had the, that one seems pretty tight. If you had a loose one, and we'll look at the date here in a second. So if you had this loose one, if you put something in it that was always pushing it to one side, it would take up the slack in the bushing, but it's really not a good idea. You know, it's not the way you're supposed to do it. But that's the way they chose to do it. Okay, so let's see if this has a date on it. Ansonia Clock Co. You see all the green stuff? Yeah, it definitely needs cleaned now that you look at it. Sometimes there'll be a date here somewhere. Is that a 6? Maybe it's up there. It's pretty dripping with oil. They've been oiling the crap out of it. All right, so this is what we're starting with. Basically, I'm just going to try to clean it up and put it back together and see if we can get it all the way back together from a complete situation right now back to a complete situation when we're done. Yeah, I think that's a 6. So 1886, maybe? All right, so the way that they're held together is just with these screws. If you take those apart, this whole plate's going to come off. And all of these parts are just fit into the plate where their pivots are. So you kind of need to know what order they go in and all of that. And we're about to take it all apart to where we don't know what order it goes in anymore, but we'll see. Now you also have to let down the springs. So the springs hold a bunch of tension, and if I take this apart and that's still wound, it's going to try to unwind and you can get messed up. They make tools to do that, or you can pull that little click there back, which is what keeps it from moving, and unwind it by hand with the key. Just let it down. There's also some wire wrapped on these metal pieces, these parts usually, that is used as a spring. So that wire wrapped around there and put over there is what makes that spring back. So there's that one. You can see there's one there above it. And I think there's usually one up on the top. Yep, that one. So you got to kind of document how those are, so you can put it back how it goes. All right, so I'm going to let down the springs and then disassemble it. All right, so I've got the screws out. We'll see if I get cut. I unwound the springs. We should be good. We should be good. Ooh, had a little bit left in it. Now, whenever you do this, since the balance, what do they call it? I haven't worked on these in a while. I can't remember all the terminology. You got to watch this sucker because it goes through, but it's also hooked back there. So you got to be very careful. But you see the whole scenario. Basically, this plate needs to come up and off. So we got the plate up and off. This popped out from somewhere. We'll find out where it goes eventually. And this kind of fell out too. The hour wheel and the minute wheel, I guess those are called. I will need this video later to put all this back together. So the spring, you got to be careful. You don't want to bend a tooth. That actually looks really good. Look at that. Very clean for its age. What do you think? Are we ever going to get back together? So this is under a bind, which tells me this probably still has tension on it, even though I let it down. But it's not much. Let me mess with that so I don't get cut. All right, so we've got it all apart. No one was injured in the filming of this video. It would probably be best to take these off of this, you know, is this called the first wheel? It'd probably be better to take those off, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to put them in like that. And then we'll re-oil them afterwards. They're greasy, actually. If you look at the plate, you can see the grease on it. But I have seen people I respect say that you can use the same oil on those that you use on the pivots and things. So, cool with me. And there is no date on it other than a 6 stamped on there. And then on the back it said there was a patent in 1978, so you would assume it's newer than that if this is the original movement. So it's probably an 86 movement. Just guessing. I'm going to remove that little clip so I can take the hour wheel off, and I was able to get the escape wheel out without bending it or anything. So I think we're good. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We've got 15 pieces and the 2 plates, basically. I'm going to leave this on. It seems like it's fine. Okay, so, yeah, let me get the hour wheel off and then we'll go dunk this stuff. All right, so I bought this ultrasonic cleaner and I've been messing around with it a little bit. It seems to work pretty good. So I've got Zep citrus degreaser in it that I'm trying first. I've heard about 50 different things people try in it, but this seems to be working pretty decent, so I'm gonna roll with it. And I've been heating it up to 50 degrees, which I guess is Celsius. And I've been running the things in it for about 15 minutes. So it's got a basket, and you just put whatever you want to clean in there, dip it down in the Zep, and let it go for 15 minutes. It makes the most ridiculous noise you've ever heard. I guess I'll show you here in a minute, but and I'm just putting stuff in the basket to where it's not touching each other, and I'm trying not to put a bunch of non-alike parts, different metals in it, because it can actually electroplate and mess up, you know. So it looks like I've got enough room for those, and I might put those 2 mainsprings in there with it, and then on the next run we'll put all the little gears and all that stuff. So, all right, so it is slowly heating up, and I've got it full up to the fill line, and everything's submerged. I'll start it just so you can hear this annoying, incredible racket that it makes. So I've got it in another room where I don't have to be in here with it. Listen to this. Yeah, so that's a little annoying. All right, so I'm gonna run them for about 15 minutes and we'll see what they look like. All right, so let's get a gander at it. Looks like there's still some grease right there in the middle. I need a little more work. Here's our plate. You can see it cleaned it up. Didn't get it perfect. It was pretty clean. You can see what it did to the solder there. But if you look at like the bushings, it seems to have removed all the extra oil that was around them, or a lot of it at least. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a toothpick and just run a soft toothpick through each one of those just to make sure you get all the gunk out. And also it's pretty clean. Also, I rinse them off, of course, and then dry it. So that is not actually grease, that's just where it's actually rubbed it. But it does make it look pretty good. It's a pretty effective way of cleaning them up. I've been wanting to get one of these for a while. And if you don't like how clean they get, of course you can always attend to it by hand a little bit too, or you can just run it longer, you know. So I'm going to clean these up a little bit and then do the other ones. All right, so I got it all out of the bath. Look at the... I had mixed feelings about this whenever I first started messing with them, because I thought, you know, you don't want it to look brand new. It's 100-some years old. But really, it doesn't look brand new because there's wear and stuff on it. But it's just amazing how this stuff cleans up. And this really helps me because I'm not good at cleaning things. On our pinball games, you probably see that. But look at the condition of that. This is a part that's 120 years old. And, you know, one of the hardest parts to clean is down in those lanterns, they call them. You can see it's not completely 100% clean. But it's a lot better than it was. And I'm completely happy with that. So the main thing that you're trying to do is you want these to be polished. So you want the pivots, the pinions, to be nice and polished. So really, you could probably stand going over those again after you get them out of the bath. But that thing really helps me. That's just something I wasn't really great at, but this will help me get them at least somewhat clean and ready for new oil. Look at that. That's a 120-year-old part. Pretty incredible. And look at the, I think they call this the Flea, I think. Look at that. So it cleans it up really well. So now we got to try to figure out how it goes back. Where did this go here? Maybe this was here. I don't know, folks. I'm going to have to think about this for a little while. Well, next time we'll put it all back together. We'll put it back in the thing. We'll oil it. We'll put it back in the clock, and we'll see if we can get it to tick and talk. So until then, y'all put up a good word for me trying to figure this out. But I'll see you back here next week, and we'll put her all back together. Now, if you like these clock videos and you want to see one that I did a little while back, check out this video, and I hope you'll enjoy it. We'll see you on the next one. This has been Amateur Repair Time.